Flowers on Stage.
So here we are with the one and only Daniel Donato. Daniel, so glad to have you on here. How you doing today?
Likewise, it's the one and only Cam. It's good, brother. Yeah, nice. A
Yes,
little
sir.
small. You got the little. You got the Nike sweatsuit. I like that. That's a hot. That is a hot topic to be wearing.
Yeah,
It's
Maduro really, he got these sold out everywhere.
sold out everywhere. I know. You go on Poshmark with that sweatsuit and probably get yourself a podcast studio right now. How would you sell that for?
Yeah, that's a good point. So
Yeah.
yeah, Daniel, Nike techs aside,
Right.
would love to start this off and just kind of have you take me back and talk to me about like your first memories of music and ultimately like the story of you deciding to go all in.
Well, the story of going all in, I remember because that was like a moment. That was like an actual. That was an actual moment. And I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to articulate the acts or the scenes, therefore, of the hero's journey, so to speak, that form, like that kind of that three-part form of, when the protagonist starts out in the garden and everything is known and everything is
Right.
good. And then there's a call to adventure, there's an odyssey, there's a faith-based sequence that brings you out into the darkness and chaos and snakes and turmoils of this world. And then, yeah, however high frequency you find yourself harmonizing with those environments, then you go into the third part of the story, which is when you go back to the garden and bring everything back home, a transformed, deeper, sophisticated, more realized protagonist. And it seems that that cycle happens incessantly and constantly in my life and also in everyone's life that I know. Um, and so the moment when I wanted to go all in, really, for me, I remember the first moment of feeling that. And that was when I was 14 and I had just bussed on the street for the first time. I was with my father and I was playing a Taylor, I think it was a 114 or 314 CE acoustic, and nobody could really hear me, because it was just an acoustic guitar on a loud street corner. And so I made no money that day, and I was kind of disheveled. And we did it for a couple hours. I tried playing for a couple hours, hot outside, the mosquitoes on my pale skin, the whole thing. And we're walking back to the parking garage to go home, and we passed a honky tonk that was called Legends Corner. And on stage that day were uh, a gentleman that are still my friends today, 17 years later. And there was a one person though who definitely deserves the big credit here. Is his name's Randy Hall, also known as Rockin' Randy Hall or Woodstock 69. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Nice little silent clap. It's almost a meta clap what you just did there.
See,
Um,
if I actually clap, the Zoom feed triggers the video back to me.
which to me is completely unacceptable performance of the sophistication of the technology, given how much bandwidth they have on engineering and capital leverage. In the audio engineering world, there are some sophisticated processing tools that figure out nuances of audio like that very easily. So the fact that a multi-billion dollar enterprise can't get that together is ridiculous. Um, but yeah, so I was walking past the door, and in the time that it takes to walk past a door, maybe 2 seconds, Randy saw me with my guitar, my soft shell guitar case on my back, and he said, "Hey kid," on the microphone. He said, "Hey kid, do you want to come play with us?" In that ridiculous moment, and we played two songs. We played "Old Time Rock and Roll" by Bob Seger, and I think we played "Red House." I remember it was a blues and Jimi Hendrix song, but it was a blues. And man, I remember the moment very well, where it was there was a revealing that this is the direction to dig in. This is the direction to scimitar your way through the forest for. This is where to go, and it just felt right to me. And that's probably very why that feels right to me is just is why things feel wrong and feel right before you actually spend a lot of time on anything is very strange to me. So that means, that means that there's some kind of a circuit in place spiritually, psychologically, neurologically, and physically, um, that all is working together, and we somehow have an attunement to that trinity of sequence, and we trust it. It's very
Yeah, like
strange that we trust,
right and
because
wrong.
because the older I get, I question way more things.
Mhm.
Especially the ideas that come from myself, I question myself a lot more now, and I question other people's perspectives and a lot more. And so, but there is something that I really never question. And when that speaks to me, I'm in service to it.
Mhm.
Even if unconsciously, as I was at that age. And I'm more conscious of the service now at 31, but um, at 14, I wasn't conscious of it being service. It was just something I only saw kind of that I was good at it and that other people enjoyed it. And it was an authentic expression of my character and personality. And I didn't need anything more than that to just dive in and start working harder than anyone else at it. you
Mhm.
know so that was probably the moment when I knew I was all in. And now earlier memories of music are very scattered and connected in hindsight, and just early unconscious memories of my dad playing songs, my mom playing songs on the radio and her CDs, and loving them and not knowing why I loved them and why they stuck in my head. And you know
That's so interesting you bring up like the metaphysics of right and wrong. Like how do we know that gut feeling of something being right or off? And like, yeah,
right.
like what even is that? I feel like being
What
a
is that?
great artist has to, because like they're kind of giving what's right to the people almost.
They certainly have the chance to.
Hmm.
um what is that and how is that? I obviously I feel liberated in saying that I don't know, but I do believe some things about that, which I think are very different things, believing and knowing. Um, you know,
Yeah.
c- uh, in a very significant way. That's uh, so just to perhaps improvise for a second on the difference between believing and knowing. So for example, I think things of the material. There is a concept of, you don't lay your treasures on earth, lay your treasures in heaven. There's a concept there of there is this material reality where you can put all your eggs in the basket there. And there's also a spiritual reality that is less visible, that is also happening,
Hmm.
that informs your material. And you should really serve that as primary. And ironically enough, as above, so below, the thing that's most visible, serve that as secondary. With realism.
Well, one comes from the other. While there's a
Yeah.
feedback loop, there's certainly one is the origin.
I believe one is the origin. I
Mhm.
do. I believe the timeless and spaceless definitely preceded the time and space.
And like an
Um,
idea comes before the thing.
yeah. My dad's a software engineer, and I talked to him about because he works a lot with AI.
Hmm.
And there is the popular theory that all of this is a simulated reality. And so, the concept of how of what that's the concept of this being a simulated reality, and Carl Jung's idea of what he said, which is modern man does not see God because he does not look low enough. So I talked to my dad about well, you simulate things all the time. Like there's a whole process for it, actually. It's called ideation and instantiation. And so before pursuing a strategy on a project, you ideate or simulate, same function, different word symbols, but same function of the words. You ideate different ones. And we do this as humans. Before I respond to somebody or before I go and do something, I'll think about what am I going to wear? What road am I going to take? What time am I going to get there? I'm simulating all these realities prior to, and they're not happening in time and space. Yeah.
Do you ever find though that that can be like a catch 22 where you kind of that simulating thing, you're out of this flow of just kind of like
Oh
natural
yeah.
no hesitate. What is that catch 22 like for you?
Oh yeah. Well, music, that's kind of something, the flow value and meaning that you identified there is, I think, very crucial, right? Um, music is when we play music on stage when Cosmic Country is happening, the highest frequency is when it's most reflexive. And we're not it's almost like just like how a transformer. So like in my audio interface, I have a thing called an A to D converter, which takes my analog noise out of my mouth, converts it into ones and zeros, and then the computer can play it back, which is how you're hearing me. So there's a transformer in there from one source, and then so one part of the source goes into the transformer, and then the transformer does what it does, and then communicates that information into the system so it can therefore project it outward. So same thing happens in an amp as well. When we are transformers on stage, that's the best, is when we're hearing the music in our in I don't even know where it is in through the grotesque bandwidth of language. I would say it's in my mind, but I don't know what that means fully. But it transforms through our bodies, through the speakers into the world, onto recordings, into the room. That's the best.
Mm.
It's the best feeling.
And that's like what we're talking about though,
Right.
about the invisible world then manifesting through our experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we're the instruments or the amps.
We are. We're all of those things. There's, yeah, everybody's looking for a miracle until they discover that they are the miracle looking out. It's like, all the time. And I think that all of these, that's probably not the first time you've improvised on some sort of a large unifying idea like this, right? So the thing that I'm really excited about going into this year is realizing that this is an unfolding process that'll go on for the rest of my life. And what I'm realizing is the reality of what is unifying and how that's happening. Why is it happening? Probably out of love and truth. Um, you know, and so that this very the essence of this conversation we're having right now, specifically in these last few sentences, that is an I believe that is an unfolding process for the rest of our existence here.
Mm.
And it's really nice to just kind of settle into that.
Yeah, and I love how you brought up love and truth. Like that's like gravity and geometry for that kind of thing, like
W- y-
physics.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So yes, I think so too. And so do you think so when you say gravity, geometry, physics, you're talking about things that are discovered and not
Mhm.
created.
Exactly. Like we observe the Lego blocks of the great thing, like
Yes.
the click together. That's like the love and the truth.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And those are material things. That's what's very interesting.
Mm.
And music is like that too.
Yeah.
Music is, especially Western music, Eastern music too, but I know less about it. But in Western music, it's extremely mathematical in its engineering
Yeah, I mean rhythm inherently,
and
is
rhythm as
math.
well, but also in the relationships of single notes and how single notes harmonize in the context of a key, which is essentially one.
Right.
It's one note, and you call it the one in music. And in Roman numerals of older music, with Bach and other classical observations, it's a Roman numeral is the one chord. So it's all in the
Mm.
context of the one, you know.
Oh, I see what you were alluding to.
So there's an ultimate unity
Yeah.
that is so unconsciously active and ingrained that it just goes in one ear and right out the other. We don't even know it, and that's how primal and perhaps omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent the reality of a singular unity is that
Mm.
it's so real it doesn't even need to be discussed. You said I am Cam, and I said I am Daniel, and before we said Cam or Daniel, we both said I am, and we didn't know that really. We weren't conscious of that, and we were improvising that. And so when you improvise on something, you're using values, you're using morals, and you're using wisdom of reflex to how am I going to improvise in this situation? And it's funny because usually to start off any improvisational discourse of dialogue and or music, we will say I am specific. But yet, before we denote the specific part of who we are, we both agree in a unity that our specificness is humble to by saying I am. It's very interesting to me.
Way to lay that out. So yeah, with this kind of concept at hand, right? I'd love to jump over to songwriting. Like,
Please. Yeah.
yeah, songwriting, like when you sit down or an idea comes to you or you don't have an idea and you're just sitting down, is it like a spiritual thing for you? Like what's songwriting like for you?
Uh, Depends on the song, what
Hmm.
songwriting's like, you know.
Overall, it's like songwriting like a spiritual practice for you, would you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk
I
to me
mean,
about that.
whatever you find your hands to do, do it well. Yeah, that old Jewish proverb. Um, I love that, you know. So whatever you find your hands to do, do it well. So, like in analyzing that sentence, whatever you find your hands to do, your hands are flesh in your hands, you know, these carbon-based dissolvable mechanisms, you know. Yeah, right. From, you know, from the dust to the dust that they will return. But to do something well, that implies a moral reality. That implies that there is a well to do. And so, how do you contrast? How do you discern what is most well at any moment? In that, and then so, how do you discern what's most well? There's a lot of ways that I've gone about that in my life. When I first started writing, I had a narrative that I knew all the time what was well, and I didn't need to seek any assistance, whether externally or more important, internally. And that really is kind of just a fear state on some level, not in a total sense, but there's fear there. Probably to expedite time and to expedite output. But how well is that? I don't know. Um, and so whenever I try to do something well, when I'm lucky, I remember to seek cosmic consultation on that. Um, you know, so lately I haven't been listening to a lot of music, and I live out in the country here, and so when I drive into town, I get about 35 minutes to like sit with myself and not listen to anything. And I listen to what is a lot of that time. And I like that a lot. My buddy Mike Gordon turned me on to that concept. And it's been very, very fruitful. You wouldn't believe it, but there's you know, I'll get resolves to melodic ideas or lyrical ideas or I'll simulate a conversation that already happened in my life and I could see how that was a song in that moment. And that just comes, you know, through no music listening, the sound of silence, so to speak.
And this is you just driving, letting your relaxed muscle just giving into that.
Driving is a, you know, Willie Nelson talks about the value of driving and songwriting, and it makes a lot of sense because, like, on a autonomic level, the nervous system is deployed in a very sophisticated way. The visual field needs to observe what's ahead of it and to the left and right of it. The hands and the feet, both hands and both feet are locked into completely delegated tasks where you don't consciously have to think about what you're doing. So the body is in use, which the body likes to do things, you know. At least mine, I like to do things all the time. Yeah, you know, when I wake up, I'm out of bed and I exercise, I do my writings and yeah. So, but that's great because if my body, while the hands are doing its earthly task, then I can do something well in a more higher frequency realm in my mind, in my heart.
Do something well.
Yeah, that's my goal.
I
It's
love
like-
it's so great the way to frame something. Like using words to actually shape an idea is something that I'm sensing that you are so intentional with.
I try. I really try. Um, the word, it's not. I don't see it to be a ridiculous assertion that the words that we use are the Lego, the atom, the fundamental building unit of our entire reality. Both the
Mhm.
words that are used in dialogue externally and internally. The words you tell yourself And the thing that the catch 22 of the entire cosmos is we have free will with with everything we have with our words. Not in every government organization, but at least in America, everyone has complete sovereignty to what they can say, which I believe is cosmically crucial to the betterment of a world to be settled in light and life. We have to respect the fact that everybody has complete sovereignty with the free will of whatever word they want to say or free speech. And nothing's actually free. So whatever you tell yourself has a price. And in the illusion of, oh, hey, how have things been going, Cam? Ah, same old, nothing. It's actually not saying you said that, but I'm sure you've heard your friends say that, you know. That's not true. I don't believe that to be true in any way. We don't have the luxury of stagnance here. We have been called to the adventure of a kinetic space-time adventure that is in constant flux and evolution. So even the very atoms that are composing the smart glass on my iPhone or in the espresso here, they are vibrating at a speed. They are not static. They are not zero. Everything is changing, and there's two directions it can go. It can go positive or negative. So the illusion that things stay static is completely false when looking at it through that framework, and that's just what I believe. So that's scary, and I think that requires a lot of accountability. And so, how does that manifest in word? Is I try to attend to my words. I try to, and this is where simulating things comes into play all the time. Is when I listen to other people's words, I want to morally conduct myself in a sense to where their words are just as significant as mine. Otherwise, who am I to? When did I become a moral judge to say somebody else's words are less important than mine? That's it seems like a slippery slope to me. Um, so I try to listen to what everyone's saying, and then I also try to listen to what I'm saying, and then before I what I when I say it, I try to just honor what seems to be the infinite potential of significance of words, you know.
Mhm.
So songwriting, I wasn't really thinking about it when I first started writing songs, so it's changed a little, you know.
Totally.
It can be hard, man. It can be really, I can like ask Mustang like in my band, like sometimes like, you know, it, especially if I'm co-writing with somebody, it can be it can be difficult. Everything matters, every word matters, especially the ones people don't, especially the ones you're not conscious of.
Mhm. Yeah, they all have an effect. So Daniel, talking about, having big ears with the cosmos and kind of getting out of our own way. What have been the things that you feel like really helped helped you see the world in the way that you do? And kind of in this, obviously you're speaking in a metaphysical way, like that an average person, they don't really perceive life in this way. What do you feel like it is that kind of made you who you are in this way?
So to answer your question, I want to answer it as authentically as I can, and so in doing that, I want to recognize the fact that maybe some of the word symbols I'm going to use are people might already have a definition for them based off prior experience. And they might already quote unquote know what that means. I don't know what this stuff means. But I do believe certain things about them.
Mhm.
Um, and so the life and teachings of in 2020, I got into the life and teachings of Jesus. That was immensely huge for me, and I never, it still is, so I never went to church. And I grew up in a small town in Spring Hill, Tennessee, which had churches. There were more churches than anything in that town, more churches than trees, really. Um, I never did any of that. So I never had any institutional instruction or dogmatic opinion
Mhm.
on anything. So I got into the life and teachings purely on an individual level without any one man telling me what any of it means. And so I do believe there is a this is a big word, I'm not trying to, but I'll try to break it down, but it's like there is a socio intellectual level of of participation with this approach around that person that you and I are talking about. There's a socio-intellectual to where, I go to this building and, these people tell me what some of this stuff means. And I'm not trying to distill that experience down in any way because I'm not qualified to, but there is I am a this.
Hmm.
And I don't think I am, anything except just a child of God, really. I'm not I wouldn't say that I'm a Christian. And I wouldn't, and then, 75% of my bloodline's Jewish, and I wouldn't say that I'm Jewish. And so I am me. And I think that wherever that consciousness was created, that which we possess, I very much humbly believe that it has the bandwidth to acknowledge the fact that everybody has their own unique key code and
Hmm.
identification vessel in this whole thing we call life, and you don't have to be any one thing, one of the five or seven religions. Religion really has religion is a part of a trinity, much like a triad of a chord. At least the way that I organize it is religion has to be in relation to your philosophy, and it has to be in relation to your science. So your science is your understanding of your facts and of the material world, i.e., the gravity
Hmm.
that you talked about, and the in physics like that. And then your philosophy is your meanings based approach. So with science, you have your facts. With philosophy, you have your meanings, which happened entirely psychologically. Um, and then on the religious level of harmonizing with reality and interfacing with the world, that's where you start to access the realm that is most blind to us, which is the spiritual realm. So I think it's you need all three. It's not in science we trust, like the
Hmm.
Babylon Bee makes jokes about it solely, and it's also not just philosophy and it's not just religion, where there's the religious person that has such dogmatic socio-intellectual fervor that they refuse to acknowledge that the world may be older than 10,000 years old or something like that. You have if you're truly being faithful, you'll be able to go into all of these domains and realms and overcome them and not allow them to overcome you. I have overcome this world, so to speak. Um, so you can go through all three of the you need all three of these. I have a philosophy and science and religion with music, and I have it with all kinds of other things too. And I find natural expression in learning about the facts of the science of music. I love that so much. I love learning about theory and the Picardy third. I learned about this recently, is how a song can start on minor and end on a major. That's really awesome. And that creates a whole effect. And that there's a scientific theoretical explanation for that. I can insert that into the DNA sequence of the music, so to speak, and I can achieve effect. So I'm acting as an engineer or a scientist of the music at that point. But I also philosophically recognize an effect with that. And on a religious level, my soul loves that. So it's really a trinity of experience happening at all points in time that connect the material to the psychological to the spiritual.
And aligning them is key.
Totally. Yeah, it takes a lifetime. I'm just trying, it's hard, man. It's also not at the same time. It's been so confusing about
Sometimes we just get out of the way, it just happens.
it. All the time. All
Yeah.
the time, especially on stage. And that's probably there was a great circuit of gravity that was pulling me to the stage because that's the domain in my life where I can get out of the way the easiest. For one reason or
Mm.
another, by the design of my character and my personality and my fate, which are the things I can't control, how I couldn't through the fate of my genealogy, I wasn't really meant to be a UFC fighter. But through my destiny, I can decide to work really hard and discern where my strengths could best be realized and be of service to the world. So I can contribute to the great songbook of this planet, you know. Um, so yeah,
I love that. What do you think it is about music that can cause for it to heal people?
it's a great question. What is it that I think about music that could cause it to heal people?
Yeah, what is it about music that you would guess is how it can cause healing?
It is a simulated reality. a song. Um, a song, Robert Hunter said this when he accepted, I think it was a Lifetime Achievement Award for the Americana Music Association, but he said something along the lines that a song creates time, and it does. So if I were to, just simply speaking, if we can simulate this reality for a second, if I were to play you 30 seconds of Claire de Lune
Mhm.
by Debussy, if I were to play you 30 seconds of that, and then I were to play you 30 seconds of I Feel Love by Donna Summers, those 30 seconds would feel different.
Mhm.
But numerically, on a quantified sense, it's the same amount of time. So the 30 years of life that I live is mathematically the same as the 30 years of life you lived or will live, but they are different. So there is an unconscious reality that we have to reconcile with the fact is that we're all trying to unify and be with each other while we all know that our lives are different in ways that we can't even begin to conceive to explain or hypothesize. And music is a unifying vessel full of gears that reconcile that, and it helps us approach how to harmonize with that obtuse reality that all of our lives are different. Time feels different. Morals, all this feels different. Our life experience is completely singular to ourselves. So music creates time. We Things repeat in music. Trope, or not things, but themes rather. Themes are latent within music that are harmonious with our life. So like for example, so let's see. Bow. Um, so let's take a hero's journey, for example, which oftentimes we've gone through several of these in our lives. And so what I mean by a hero's journey, and I can break that down into some themes for you, is you start out in a place that's familiar, call it home. So, boom, 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 I'm starting in the home. Everything's good right here. Then the chord's going to change. Just like how an opportunity to move away from home to go to college, or an opportunity to go pursue a new project, i.e., doing a podcast or a new promotion at a job. I'm starting at home and I'm going right here. Now something's calling me to move, and the chord changed. And I'm in a place right now that is full of some unknowns, but it's not completely unknown yet. It's still somewhat like home, but I'm about to change. Now things are in the minor. Things are dark and unsure. I don't know exactly where I'm going. And now the dominant chord that's known as the five, which musically, scientifically, on a scientific level, holds the most amount of tension in relation to the one. There's all this change that's happening right now. I went through the darkness, and the change is gonna pull me back home. There's even in chords, the thematic essence in which the most popular songs of our time, chordally, are constructed, are in complete accordance with the thematic structures of the stories of our time, to the oldest stories, to Beowulf, to the oldest stories possible, the old scriptural from the Tanakh, from the Old Testament into the New, into all revelation that has come since then, and speculation on modern minds, i.e., Ram Dass and Alan Watts and Terence McKenna, or all of those themes and tropes are completely latent within music and we don't even know it. So like
Mhm.
country road, roads take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. See, like even then, like lyrically, he goes to what is the four chord there. The four chord, note wise, is only one note, is only two notes different than the one chord. Take me home. I'm not quite home yet. So he says that. So he lands on the four chord and when he says, take me home, right? And so
You can hear that like longing in the
he's
difference.
you can hear the longing and the difference. And he's so close to home. And then when he says the thing that is home, country roads, he goes back to the one chord, which is the
Mhm.
garden. It's the place where Act One started and where the story ends. And the cosmic thing about the space-time sequence of the hero's journey is that when the journey ends, it begins again. That's the eternity happening. So like eternity, this is something my father and I are trying to, all the time we humbly discuss this nature of eternity. And we hypothesized the metaphor recently. It's very fascinating to look at eternity. So, time moves clearly in this circular way.
Mhm.
Just like a chord, just like a song does. Like a chorus repeats itself. And when the chorus ends, like at the end of a song like "Shape of You" or Ed Sheeran or even "Country Roads," like a double chorus at the end of a song, when a chorus happens two or three times, right when the chorus ends, it begins again. You know? So think about. I try to think of like so how is it that the record starts at the end, and then there's this little needle. There's one needle that transforms all of the information that's on the vinyl in through the speaker. It's almost like the needle is the conscious mechanism that delivers the vinyl to the speakers, that delivers the music to our ears. So you have this little needle of consciousness that starts on the out, and then slowly, 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 it's transforming all of this life information, all this music, all this rhythm, all these themes, all these values, all these emotions. And slowly, 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 it finds its way back to the center, the little piece
Mhm.
in the middle that holds all of that space and time record together, right? So
Mhm.
that's that, and so that's kind of, I think, what's happening in our lives on some degree. I
Just
think
like spiraling.
we're harmoniously spiraling
Mm.
the whole
And
time.
that's like
So
also there's the Fibonacci see the math of a spiral.
yeah, I don't know too much about that. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so there's this mathematical ratio like pi that if you look at a seashell, the nature of the way it spirals out follows a mathematical pattern,
Yeah.
which is it's like pi. It's like this unexplainable phenomena of math and physics, like the actual architecture of a spiral.
Yes. Yeah. It's like the pine cone, right?
Right.
Right.
And leaves grow in this way. Like it's just like
Right.
the angle of nature almost.
Right. Right. And so do you find yourself marveling at that design?
I find myself like I can't believe in coincidences because
Yeah.
something so like Goldilocks zone is just
Right.
everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing about I don't believe in coincidences either. I just I the way I look at it is I believe more than I know.
Mm. We can
Yeah.
never really know.
There is sovereign attainment on some things, I believe. There is sovereign, like I know what a C scale is made of. Or I
Mm.
know pretty much what a C chord's going to sound like. But in an absolute sense, no, we cannot know because we're not an absolute reality. But on a space-time level, I have just through wisdom and time-space attainment of experience, I
Mhm.
can worship the predictability about something.
Worship the predictability. That's a phrase.
Oh yeah. Um,
Yeah.
you know, so I also think things of this world, of
Mhm.
this material realm, you have to know them before you love them. So
Yeah,
like
like loving is understanding. I think they're similar.
I think they're similar too, my friend.
Mhm.
Um, so even just the etymology of the word understand is very fascinating because there is this concept of from who we were talking about earlier is he did say if you humble yourself, you'll be truly exalted. And if you exalt yourself, you'll be truly humbled. And I've done both in my life. And that's a great as above, so below. Um, or yin and yang, so to speak, duality concept. So,
Mhm.
but um, so you said, to love something is to understand, right? Just look at the word understand. Um, so you're under something, which means
Yeah,
you
yeah,
could be in service to something, but you are standing, you are
yeah.
present. I am. You have a perspective, you have a potential, and you have a truth in you that can only be expressed through the unique infinite angle that is you. So
Mhm.
to truly understand something, the attempt at that morally implies your place on a hierarchy, which is
Yeah.
under something. And
There's like a humility built
there,
into that word.
same prefix as humble, which is also the same prefix as human.
Hmm. And isn't light hue?
Yes, I could see that too. Yeah, there you go. Okay, I haven't thought about that one. That was really nice. There you go. Add that one to the cosmos. I just
Words are
like
crazy.
words are we don't give enough credit to them. But there are some people that are alive and have lived that very much so aim to try to provide, how these words are the fundamental building block of the entire reality that we find ourselves in,
And
which
we
why,
we our brains are addicted to that code.
yes, yeah, yeah. And where they came from, there's all kinds of theories. I like Terence McKenna's theory. It's fun. Where
What is
language
it?
came from. The Stoned Ape theory.
Oh, got you, got you. That's yeah, that's a fun one.
It's fun. I don't know, but I
Mhm.
do believe in the transcend. I do believe in the liberating and transformative power of word. And so that's why I said earlier, what led me to all this really was, I mean, I've I really love the life and teachings of Jesus in a way that is less than yet more than yesterday and less than tomorrow. It keeps expanding and
Yeah.
transforming all the time. And everything that I read prior to that, whether it be Tolkien, whether it be C.S.
Mhm.
Lewis, whether it be Steinbeck or Kerouac, or music or philosophy or everything led me to that because his life and teachings are an apex portrayal of all attainable values in this space and time reality, perfectly executed.
Mm.
And it's just so brilliant that it's such a terrible story. But the crucifixion story actually is a comedy because it ends well. He comes back. Now, to the degree in which now that's where somebody on the more socio-intellectual, maybe institutional side will vary with me on how he came back and how there is a participation in space and time, even though the flesh component is no longer present. I do believe there is a presence,
Mhm.
a strange presence. So, you know, music.
Music, man.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
hey Daniel, I got a few more minutes here. I want to ask
Yes.
a couple more, maybe more like rapid fire questions as we're
Let's
closing
go.
out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Nice
everyone out there
tiebreaker.
listening, by the way, for all you fans out there enjoying this convo, we've got a link to in the description where you can get tickets to Daniel Donato's tour, catch him live, keep up with him on socials, all that good stuff. And yeah, as we're wrapping up, a couple more questions for you here. What, if given the chance, we're talking about ideating and simulating,
Yeah.
what do you think future you would say to you now if they could?
Great job. Because I really do believe I'm trying my best. Probably something along the lines of keep going. Progress is the watchword of the universe.
Mhm.
Um, Something like that.
I love it.
I don't know though. I worry about that because I worry if there's something, in my life that I'm just totally not seeing.
It's a
You
good
know,
worry to have.
it is.
It's healthy.
I think it is. It can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say right now you have an opportunity where going forward, all your future family, all the family you have, your
Mhm.
your kids and your grandkids' kids, they can all have like a letter in their pocket for the rest of their lives that you write, what might you say on that to them? A message to keep with them.
Though he slay me, I still serve him.
Mm.
I'm gonna be a weird dad. I'm gonna be a weird.
Shout out. I mean, you got to be you, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna be me. Yeah. I'm
I
not gonna
love
put the
that.
light. I would also tell him not to put the light under the bushel.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your take on darkness in art. We talked about this a little
Right.
bit about how it builds tension, but ultimately, how can darkness itself be a beautiful thing?
So in a major chord, so in C major, there are these just like as above, so below, yin and yang duality, that whole format. The same thing is applicable in the science of music. So a C major chord is made up of C, E, and G. There's
Like
a
A minor.
Yeah, so yeah, you have your relative. Yeah, exactly, Cam. So there you go. So I think they're ever present. So what darkness is light, minor is major. Light is
Mhm.
darkness, major is minor.
How would
And
you
it,
explain that to maybe someone who's like 9?
no, um, well, I probably wouldn't explain it in words. That's
Mm.
one of the strange. That's
Okay.
one of these weird cosmic delegations that happens in music. It's like so everybody has their infinite unique perspective that they're realizing and waking up to day by day, moment by moment. Um, and so the music, even though it's coming from another person who's on the same ride you are, the music is doing something that the person can't do,
Mm.
you know? And so I probably delegate it to the music to convey that to them.
Like a show don't tell.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
because I mean, humbly speaking, I bet the music can probably lead the person to that truth and value way better than my words could, you know? So,
Music's like that.
yeah, I would delegate it to the music. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome, Daniel. And then finally,
Yeah.
so what do you have in store for 2026 that fans out there listening should be stoked about?
Well, we have a couple records coming out this year. We have Camp Cosmic coming out or our event coming up here in on May 8th and 9th. I shouldn't say this, but we're gonna
We
do it
can keep it
anyway.
under wraps,
We can
whatever
still
you
say
got.
it. It's fine. You just keep your ears out for it because nothing's for sale yet. But we're 2 nights at the Ryman. We're doing in
Nice.
August.
Congrats.
Yep. And I mean, the most important thing that we do with Cosmic Country is we had 118 shows last year, and we're doing a ton of shows this year. Not as many as that, but we have all these experiences for everybody to come out and collaborate and be a part of something that will only happen one time by design. And that to me is just the potential in every show is absolutely unbelievable because every show that we've done prior to that leads to that show.
Mhm.
Um, so every show, every tour we're doing, I'm immensely excited about, and we're in a time right now too where we have an opportunity as a band to be very faithful in the human potential and to serve community and to create opportunities and environments where people can get together and have authentic emotional transactions externally and internally. And it's something that is not algorithmically curated. There's no narrative uh, that's driving anybody to generate more revenue for an organization or something like that. Um, Aside from the ticket sales, which does bring us money and record sales, things like that. But that's really it. So we're kind of setting up shop to be a very human-based organization and experience in Cosmic Country. So, um, depending on how close we get to AGI and Singularity, uh, Cosmic Country will stay very human for a very long time. And if that's something that interests you and you find regenerative and transformative for your own soul and the people that you bring light to in your life, then every tour we go on, it will be a good place for you.
Amen to that, man. Like
Yeah.
that open improvisational live music experience, it's
Yeah.
one of those last few pure forms of entertainment and coming together, man. So, you know, bringing that to the world, dude, shout out to you, Daniel Donato.
You too, Cam. You too, brother. You're doing the same thing.
This is Flowers on Stage.